My feeling was that there was some talk about eliminating that committee altogether, and I disagree. I think we need to have someone overseeing what's going on here.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask, when are we gonna get this head out here, Todd, from the women and men? What's going on with it?
Yeah, I'll tell him. Yeah, today, he asked what's going on with the new bathrooms over here by Fitness Center. Today, the tile people were in, they completed the tile. The plumbers were in today, they're fixing the fixtures and seating the water closets. So we're probably looking at another 10 days before we get them final. Then we have to wait on Pasco County, obviously, to approve them, and that's, lately, it's been up to a week. Good news, a little bit more construction information. The slab got approved this morning. They had the concrete here this afternoon. It's poured for the expansion, so that's moving along real nicely.
For the YouTube.
I have a question and then a comment if I might. I was on the clubhouse utilization policy, and so was Ben. I don't know if anybody else is in here or not. And, oh, I'm sorry, Bonnie. So Bonnie's always there. I think she is. Was that finally adopted or whatever? Where were we left at with that? I know you changed boards right when we submitted it. You changed boards, or some members. So where was that left at, or is it still working? You guys finalized it?
I spoke, excuse me, sinuses. I spoke to Bob about that, and he said that committee is still standing, and he has every intention of following through and coming up with a policy. But he didn't state when. I got the impression it would be very soon.
We actually submitted a suggestion. That's all our committee can do. We submitted a suggestion to the prior board, and it was up to them. And then now whoever's on the new board, which I think the prior board accepted our suggestion.
They did.
And then new boards, follows through and makes a policy or whatever, puts it into the rules or whatever.
Well, Bob wanted to meet with the committee, and he wanted to take the suggestions and write it into a policy, and then it would be added to our policy manual. But he has every intention of getting that committee back together, and he wants the committee to help him write the policy.
Thank you. The next one, and I'm going to try to be polite to whoever's all here. I've lived here over 7 years now, and I don't know the exact date because I've had company in for a couple of weeks, and there's been some other things. Just today I lost another neighbor this morning, and there's been through some other things. My memory on dates may not be exact. But one of the last meetings, which was one of the first of the new board, was quite ugly. And that's the first time ever since I've lived here that I've seen such a display of what I would call ugliness. The things that went on there should have, the nasties and stuff that went back and forth should have been settled behind closed doors, not in front of all the residents. And to add to that, some prior members who just left here don't need to go to other rooms in here that I play billiards and golf. And what was asked of me when I just got on committee work was kneeling down, which is an appropriate work. Other prior members, you give a lot of time and a lot of service to this community for free. The name calling and stuff that I heard just happened to be in the same room playing pool or being in the same foursome or, standing waiting to tee off. That kind of ugliness is not appropriate for this quality of a community. I was thoroughly disgusted sitting here watching what I said again, ugliness that went on up front here and outside of this room. And I would hope that was the last that we would see of that kind of stuff amongst the quality of neighbors that we have here.
Thank you. And by the way, I totally agree. Being brand new here is difficult to get organized and find out who's on first, who's on second, but I'm working really hard to do it. And we will get there. We'll get there, so this is one group going in the same direction, one way or another. I've been on a lot of boards over the years, and we don't like to have that happen. And the worst thing in the world is have people go out and talk about what happened to the boys standing on the first tee. That does not help us at all. And I tell you right now, I work hard to make sure we all are working together. You can count on it.
Are there any other questions?
I'm not getting up my knees back then. There is quite a bit of dissension, not of the type you just mentioned, but people feel that, many people feel that they're not involved in what's going on. I'm on the finance committee and I don't have a clear picture in my head. I have guesstimates of all these construction projects. Do we have any kind of a general overview? We could say the new bar was so much, this was so much, or do we have to look at many reports to see that?
Yeah, that's, I don't know if you recall, but I sort of left my seat and went to talk to Larry. Larry was meant initially to give an entire presentation on what all of this has cost us really over the last year and a half. Unfortunately, he's got some guests coming in, so he won't be able to give the presentation at this meeting, but he'll give it at the next meeting. But just not to steal his thunder, but just to highlight it, the amount of money we spent in 2010 vis-a-vis what the Miller-Dotson report said we should be spending. In spite of all the money we spent on that side, we came in, and don't quote me on the exact number, but it was something like $20,000 or $30,000 under what Miller-Dotson had suggested we spend. So I know from the residents' point of view, it looks like we're spending a lot of money, but everybody has to understand that prior to the resolution of the lawsuit, there was no money being spent on this clubhouse. And so a lot of this, I realize we had the new bar and all that other stuff, but the roof and everything else was really deferred maintenance that we had to catch up on. But nevertheless, and as you'll see when Larry finishes his presentation, you'll see that we're pretty much in line. Now that's on the reserve side. On the capital side, there has been presentations made to residents at previous board meetings that explaining, because all of that capital is really coming out of your operating fund assessments. And what we were able to do is, as I mentioned, when we made that $300,000 last year, that's the money we redeployed back into, reinvested back into the clubhouse with the bar, the fitness center, the bathrooms and all that. So that's the reason why we were able to do that without increasing the assessments. It's internally generated cash from the $145 assessments. The other $30 goes into the reserve, and that's mapped out for us by Miller-Dotson, and we try and follow that as best we can.
But if I built a house, I can talk about that. I've built a few houses in my life for myself and others, but you always have a total project price. Now I realize we did it in stages, but I think it would be helpful if we could have a phase one, which was the bar.
Bar and fitness center.
It was so much, phase two is so much.
We got
So
it.
you can get a total picture.
Yeah, we have that.
You know, I try to guesstimate, I think it's somewhere around $1 million so far.
For sure, more than that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to.
Again, if you just look back at, again, these are rough numbers. If you look back at 2010, it's probably 1.2 million out of the reserve and another 300,000 out of capital. So that means 5 million. And there'll be more money as the bump out gets finished and all that. There'll be more money being spent this year. And that was the reason, quite honestly, probably, if we had to put our feet to the fire, we could have funded the expansion of the kitchen this year. But I think to be conservative and make sure that we got it right, it was decided to push that off until next year. But like I said, I think if we had to, we could have done it. But I think it was a prudent decision to push it off until next year and make sure we have the money before we do it.
Well, I think the present board and the board before that should be committed because of our, what do we call it every month? Assessment. It's stated about $175, so I think that's a reason to be proud. That's fine. But to clear up some people's doubts or stories going around, if you could put together, his report will be fine, but will that be printed up so?
Yes,
Sure.
Put it on the book.
So we asked to have that put together in plain English without a lot of fancy mumbo gumbo, so everybody can understand what's going on, including me, because I'm trying to follow these numbers too, and I think it's going to be fine. Everybody should understand it. I agree with you. Thank you.
Yeah, it'll be broken down, how much the bar course is, how much the fitness center, et cetera. And you're right, we could post it on the bulletin board once it's presented to the residents.
Not to toot my own horn here, but I feel I'm going to have to since no one else is. My contract's coming up for renewal. I've worked here for 3 years. The management team generated that $600,000 in cash that did all those expansions. So the board oversaw it, but the management team generated the savings.
Can I ask, when is your contract coming up?
Next month, they're in executive session now reviewing it. It'll come up for board approval next month.
For this coming meeting?
For a 3-year extension, no. They didn't have it ready.
I just wanted to ask if the capital expenditures that weren't budgeted, if those are going to come through the finance committee?
So far, there's nothing that's not budgeted to be done.
Well, the 3,000.
It's an emergency fund.
Huh?
It's an emergency, a lightning strike.
No, for the automatic doors,
Yep.
for the handicap.
Russ signed off on it as chair. We couldn't get it through the finance committee before the next meeting because it's coming in front of the board now. So
We
Russ,
just met last Tuesday.
the chair, yeah, Russ signed off. We just got all the paperwork together.
I just would like to make
Right.
sure that we are at least informed.
No, you'll see it.
That's a very valid point. Thank you. I agree with you on it. It should get there.
Oh, God. I did it really good.
I have 3 items, the third one I'll talk to lady because Kevin and I are about it.
We can't hear you, Ken.
How can the board can't hear you?
My first one has to be the J, and I'm serious on this now. On March 8th, I sent you a letter requesting whether you wanted to do utilization of the golf committee, so to speak, or put one together. The last meeting, you spoke to me, you said, give me time. Now it's April 26th, and it's 2 months, and I think 2 months is ample time for me to get an official response from the president of the board.
Before I give you an official response, you and I can discuss this, because I would love to have you see somewhat of what's on this agenda going on right now, and I've talked to all the golfers about it. And I have golf at heart, been there all my life, and would love to do nothing better. But right now, between contracts, performance appraisals, finance committee problems, build out, blow out, whatever you want to call it, I have not had 2 seconds to even look at stuff I think are very important. That's one of them. I have not had 2 seconds.
When can I expect an official response?
I think my first response to you, as well as to Tom Agati and a few others, I said, give me about 6 months.
I don't think that's reasonable if we want to get something done this year.
Okay. Have you talked to Tom Agati?
I talk to Tom all the time.
Okay.
I am on the Golf Advisory Committee, and I think they assigned that to me.
They did.
So you and I can start meeting and take it from there.
Okay, I have 3 months worth of work right here already.
I don't doubt it.
All right.